All right, everybody. Hello. Welcome. Today is Saturday, October 31st, Halloween 2020. and we are getting ready to go into our People of the Lie review series, episode 7. What is in a name? Hopefully, you guys like the nice, spooky Halloween music. I was trying to make it kind of creepy for you guys. So hopefully I did. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the show. It's good to have you here. It's good to meet up again. We are picking back up with our People of the Lie review series. Our highly requested, high in demand People of the Lie review series. You guys have been snapping on me about this one, like PTE, where is it? And I absolutely love it, you guys. I really appreciate your engagement. I'm glad you like this. So, it definitely tells me that I need to make more content similar to this. So I will. But it is very content heavy. So this is not the type of presentation that can be put together in an hour. This actually took me over the course of 2 days, not nonstop. Obviously, I took breaks, but it takes a lot to put this together, y'all. So just know that I'm not intentionally withholding, okay? It just takes a lot because I want it to be good for you. And you all seem to enjoy that. So I enjoy that as well. Welcome. We have the same disclaimers we always have for the people who are going to be new here for the first time. This entire series and the book itself are dealing with evil, spirituality, and religion, okay? I know a lot of people are atheistic. I completely understand and respect that. However, I highly encourage you to tune in anyway, because I promise you might find something that really speaks to you. Without regard to the evil, spirituality, and religion component. I think you'll find something for you. Also, this content is heavy on the psychological side, okay? And with that comes the potential to be very triggering. So I'm laughing because my dog starts up with a squeaky toy as we're talking about heavy psychological content. But if you do find that it is just a little bit too much for you and you need to sort this out with a counselor, we do have a resource in BetterHelp. The link is there on your screen. It's also in the description box. You can access a counselor on your schedule, and obviously it's all virtual. So I think that's really positive, especially during this particular time frame in our world. So check that out, and you can get a discount using that code there on your screen, okay? So let's jump into our content. This is the book that we have been reviewing. The book is called People of the Lie by Dr. M. Scott Peck. And it has been absolutely amazing thus far. This book came out in 1980. Is it 3? Hold on. Let me just look. Yeah, this book came out in 1983 and has really been very timely and timeless, especially now. It's almost prophetic, to be honest with you. So check out the book, pick up your own copy. There is a link in the description box if you just want to go straight to it. And if you buy the book using that link, you do support the channel in a very small way, which I'm very grateful for. So why don't we jump right into tonight's episode? Tonight's episode, what's in a name? What is in a name? This is good, you guys. This one took a while to put together because it really had me thinking a lot. This whole entire series does, and the book itself does as well. But this one, you'll see. No further ado, let's just jump right into it, okay? Starting off right on page 120, a concept that came out when this channel first started. I used to say, I don't think narcissism is properly named. I don't think we're calling it the right thing. Okay. So right on page 20, it says to name something correctly gives us a certain amount of power over it. So narcissists in particular, or evil people in particular, would have you think that what you call something doesn't really matter. Or what's the old children's nursery rhyme? Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Getting us to believe things like that. Because in believing that, we learn not to call things their correct names. And in not doing that, we lose all power over whatever thing that we're calling the improper name. Names are important, and what we call things absolutely matter. And his essential point in this particular quote here is that evil as a concept is not in the psychiatric lexicon yet, primarily because science deals with observable phenomenon, things you can see, touch, measure, things you can observe. Evil is very hard to observe. You can observe evil's effects. You can observe the end result of evil, but it is very hard to measure evil. Where would you even start? What criteria would you use? What variables would you use? What would you measure it against? What is good? Would you measure evil against good? How do you measure good? So evil as a concept in science is very hard to place there and get in because it's hard to measure. But part of what he's advocating for in this whole entire segment is evil getting into the psychiatric and scientific lexicon. And we'll get there. Okay. So he brings this up in this chapter as well. The debate or the conversation about whether or not evil is an actual illness. And he goes on to kind of detail how we come to call something an illness or what we consider the outward signs of illness to be. So let's get into some of these quotes and then we'll kind of talk through that a little bit. This is on page 121. It says, "We are accustomed to feel pity or sympathy for those who are ill, but the emotions that the evil invoke in us are anger and disgust, if not actual hate." Right? And the point of this is, if someone is sick, we tend to feel sorry for them, right? So if evil is an illness, are we supposed to sympathize and pity and feel sorry for evil people? Now, hear me correctly. I believe human rights apply at all times, meaning at no time do we have the right to violate someone's air, someone's water, someone's food, someone's sleep. So I believe human rights apply at all times. But what I'm saying is, in terms of how we deal with them and interact with them, are we supposed to sympathize with someone who has clearly demonstrated that if the law would allow them to, they would take us out? If it were legal to just take out whoever you didn't like, and society was like, oh, well, I guess that happens sometimes, you know, they would do it within the next 24 hours. But somehow we're supposed to be gentle and kind and understanding and patient and calm with evil people. On my most popular video on this channel, Fun with Your Narcissist, I got into a little conversation with someone today who once again was telling me I'm a horrible person for that video, that I'm messing with sick people, and that, you know, you're teaching people how to be bullies, right? And instead of typically making the typical smart aleck comment in response that I do, I decided to actually engage this individual. And if I had known I was going to talk about this, I would have pulled it up. But essentially what I said to him was, why are you more concerned with how we respond to wicked people than the wicked people themselves? If I remember, y'all, I'll pull that up in the after show. So if you're still here in the after show, I'll pull it up so we can read it. But that was my essential gist. You're more concerned with our response to evil and wicked people than you are the evil, wicked people yourself. Why is that? And then he responds with, oh, I just feel that, you know, there's better ways to deal with things. And I said, please detail them. I'm all ears. And the last time I checked, there was no response. So I'll check again. But that's so typical, you know. We know everything that narcissists are, everything they do. We know their motives, their modus operandi. And yet with all that knowledge, we're still supposed to be the ones to just take it, you know, just let them be, let them operate, let them do whatever you want to do. Let them do whatever they want to do to you. As long as you don't respond, that makes you a good person. I don't think so. I'm sorry. I'm not of that camp. You can be of that belief system if you want to. But I just got through watching this very interesting documentary on Chris Watts and Shannon Watts. And all I can think to myself was, I wonder how many times she thought about leaving and didn't. I I wonder how many times she talked herself into staying into the relationship. I wonder how many times she felt like something was off or something was wrong or something just wasn't right. And she didn't honor that inner instinct. She didn't, quote unquote, have, quote unquote, fun with her narcissist. You know what I mean? Might she still be alive today? It's possible. You know what I mean? This belief that we have to always meet evil with kindness is madness. And it's kind of what's gotten a lot of people hurt and messed up in our world today. Let's move on. This is still on page 121. Evil isn't obvious and most criminals are free. The people labeled here as evil were not crazy as we ordinarily think of the word. They were coherent and self-possessed, holding down responsible jobs, making money, apparently functioning smoothly in the social system, and hardly identifiable on superficial inspection as the least bit deranged. I want to let y'all read that for 1 second while I preoccupy my puppy. Look at that quote. This is kind of what I've been trying to tell you guys all along. We paint evil. The evil we see either acted out in real life or in the movies, that's like end result. That's like end phase evil. Like it's finally expressing itself and expressing itself outwardly. That's end stage evil. Okay. But like I've told you many times, most criminals are free and they get away with things like giving their children the tools that their sibling used to remove themselves from this world. I'll just say it like that. If you want to know what I'm talking about, tune into episode 1 or 2. I'm not sure which one it is. But a lot of evil people appear perfectly normal, guys. And that's what's so scary. That's what's so eerie about it. You would think and you would hope that they would display something so egregious that you'd be like, oh my God, something's wrong with you. But typically, as it says here, they're coherent, self-possessed, they hold down responsible jobs, they make money, they appear to be functioning smoothly in the social system, and on surface inspection, they don't look crazy at all. And that's how they slip in. That's how they slip underneath the radar system, especially the early warning radar system. This is how they're able to slip past it. Because if you're outwardly deranged, you're not going to slip past many radars. If all evil people were outwardly deranged, we probably wouldn't have as much of a problem with them as we do. But the issue is you got people who sit in church every Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday who go to work and then are like wicked to their employees or do things that are wicked to the customers. You see what I mean? Or go home and they're wicked to their families. You see what I mean? So it runs pretty deep. And I think this is such an important slide to kind of spend some time on because it's just a reminder that evil is not as apparent as you might think it is. And it's also a reminder of why you might feel so much internal tug of war when you think about this particular person, whoever has affected your life. And you're like, but they're such good people. They did this, they did that. They've helped me out here. They helped me out there. So how can this be the same person? I'm telling you, they can be the same person. They can be. Because think about it like this. The people in your life who are not evil, have they ever given you a reason to think that they are? Hopefully that question makes sense. In other words, the people in your life who you know to be good people, have they ever given you even one reason to think that they were evil? The question is, the answer is probably not. But evil people have probably given you at least one clue, at least one breadcrumb. At least one. Minimum one. Still on page 121, he starts to bring up narcissism again in this chapter. It says, it is characteristic of the evil that in their narcissism, they believe that there is nothing wrong with them, that they are psychologically perfect human specimens. Does that sound familiar to you guys at all? I'm not going to go there on this stream, but that should ring a bell somewhere. That psychologically perfect human specimens. In other words, I am perfect. I am whole. There's nothing wrong with me. There's something wrong with you. And if there is something wrong with you, wow, you're really flawed. You're really defective. So think about it like this. I want you to think back to our corporate cults review series and everything we discussed in that review series. The narcissistic cult leader, be that the CEO or just a department manager, has this internal philosophy, the internal philosophy that there's nothing wrong with them and they are psychologically and physically perfect human specimens, right? And you should be too. There's the rest of that sentence. And you should be too. So because they try to exude perfection, even though you can clearly see they're not perfect people, they expect perfection out of you as well. And what happens is one of two things. People will stuff their humanity, they'll stuff their defects, they'll stuff their imperfections in an attempt to appear perfect, psychologically and physically perfect for their cult leader, and end up deteriorating from the inside out because they don't take care of themselves anymore. Because when they do get sick, they try to cover it up. Because the expectation is they are psychologically and physically perfect. This is why for years, depression had a stigma on it. Do you guys remember when depression had a stigma? It still kind of does, but nowhere near as much of a stigma as it used to have in the past. Why? Because by and large, our society has been run by narcissists, and narcissists expect you to be psychologically and physically perfect because they are psychologically and physically perfect. Do you understand? You are to be like them. They feel that ache, they feel that pain, they feel that lump. They know they need to go to the doctor, but they won't, because doing so is an admission of not being psychologically or physically perfect. So they're not going to go. They're just going to drop dead one day. And that's typically how it goes. So I say that to say, do not allow someone who believes they are psychologically and physically perfect to try to convince you that you should be the same. You take care of yourself always. Will we achieve 100%? Probably not. But you try to get as close to 100 as you can get. Don't let some narc let you not tend to yourself so where you can't move yourself up those percentage levels, if that makes sense. Let's move on. Still on page 121. See, it's going to take us a year to get through this, y'all. Oh, it's going to take us a year. But actually, we're about halfway through the book, I think. We're about halfway through. How do we measure illness? It says, if overt suffering and self-definition are the criteria for illness, then the evil are the last ones to be considered mentally ill. So in other words, if suffering that you can see and a self-diagnosis are what we use to determine whether or not someone is sick, well, then the evil are not qualified to diagnose themselves, number one, but we would also not consider them sick because they don't think they're sick and they don't appear sick either. You see? So the example he used in the book is like a farmer who has a massive heart attack out in the field. They're able to get to him, get him to the hospital, get him stabilized. And when he finally kind of comes to, he goes, what's going on? Why am I here? And they're like, sir, you had a heart attack. And he's like, no, I didn't. Are you out of your mind? I'm healthy. And they're like, sir, they found you passed out by your plow. The ambulance had to come pick you up and bring you here. And he's like, you're a liar. Where's my wife? And the wife is in the corner. Honey, you had a heart attack, honey. You need to calm down and just relax. He's like, I did not have a heart attack. I don't have heart problems. I'm healthy. And we'll sit there and argue down the doctors and argue down the nurses because he didn't think he was sick. And he wasn't overtly suffering. He was just working out in the field just then. And so, and the other examples he used were essentially other illnesses that don't always present until they start to show symptoms. So, in other words, you could have it and not know it, feel fine, be fine, you're functioning, going about your day. And then by the time you discover it, that's when you become symptomatic, is what I'm trying to say. So, the point of him bringing that up is we could still diagnose them as ill, evil people, that is, even in the absence of their self-diagnosis and in the absence of any overt outward suffering. In other words, baby doll, just because you don't think you're too, dang, I forgot the phrase. What is it? 2 cards short of a deck? I forgot the phrase. Just because you don't think you're 2 cards short of a deck doesn't mean that you aren't. Just because you don't think you're crazy doesn't mean you're not. Okay, let's move on. This is on page 122. It says, much of the time when physicians tell us that there's something seriously wrong with us, we take them at their word, whether we are in actual pain or not. And I thought that was kind of interesting. And it made me wonder how many narcissists make war with their doctors, if they even go. Because a lot of them won't go. A lot of people won't go, though. So I'll be fair there. A lot of people just have a lot of general fears around doctors. A lot of people know something is wrong. They won't go because they don't want to face the full reality of whatever it is. So I recognize there is a lot of fear around going to the doctor. But tonight we're talking about evil people and narcissists. And I just feel like if you actually could get a narc to the doctor, they'd probably make war with them. Doc is like, sir, ma'am, you need surgery within the next 6 months if we're going to save your life. And they're like, baloney. You're a liar. You're a shill. You're an agent for the deep state. I don't need surgery. I'm fine. I am healthy. I come from a strong genetic bloodline. And so they're like, well, ma'am, can I show you your x-rays? X-rays, schmexrays. I don't trust your science. What is that? Did your kindergartner make that and give that to you to bring to work today? I don't believe that. That's not my body. Ma'am, it is. We just took them an hour ago and they just processed. Here's your name on the chart, your birthday, your social. Yeah, you all probably just stole my identity when I was in the bathroom. You just went through my purse. And you just put that stuff on. It's not my body. Nope, not my body. I don't believe you. And the doc just looks at the spouse like, what am I supposed to do here? Right now, I do want to put out a big disclaimer. We know that a lot of medical mistakes do occur on an annual basis, occur on an annual basis. We know that sometimes doctors are wrong. So I do recommend, if you're able to get a second opinion, if you don't trust your doctor, that is. If you don't trust your doctor or you don't believe your doctor or you think they might be wrong, if you're able to afford it or you have the coverage, please do go get a second opinion. I would never just say, yes, just trust your doctor implicitly without questioning anything, asking questions, asking them to explain why they think that. Like, I'm talking about people who've lost touch with reality is what I'm talking about. But for regular everyday people, always verify is what I'll say. Okay. But tonight we're talking about the wicked. So I feel like the wicked probably go in these doctors' offices every day and make war with these people, war with the nurses, war with the doctors. You know what I mean? And I do wonder what they have to do in those situations. Like, do they have like a form where the patient just signs off all medical liability? And can the doctors even do that? So, for example, in the book, if I'm not mistaken, didn't the farmer try to walk out or something? Oh, no, he posed the question. He said, should we allow the farmer to just leave because he thinks he's not sick? And the obvious answer is no. Like, if you know this man just had a massive heart attack and he needs to be under observation, no, you don't let him leave. But then again, I don't know the law regarding that. Can you hold someone against their will? If they have a serious medical condition, can you do that? Or are they free to go? They just have to sign over or sign like a waiver. I don't know. They can sign and not have the medical care. Wow. Interesting. I bet that is so annoying To be a doctor, to be an honest doctor, experienced in your craft, knowledgeable in your craft, arguing with people who think they know more than you every day. That's got to be irritating. This is on page 123. It says, we realize that their inability to define themselves as ill in the face of overwhelming evidence to the contrary is actually a part of the illness itself. This makes me think strongly of hoarders. Hoarders, we've talked about them a lot on this channel. The inability to even see that you're sick is part of the illness. It is. It's a huge component, because before you can even begin to start even trying to get better, you have to know what needs to be addressed. What's wrong? Okay. I thought this was very important, especially going into this election on Tuesday. Wise leaders generally have suffered a lot. Okay. It says great leaders, when wise and well, are likely to endure degrees of anguish unknown to the common man. That's on page 123. And that was kind of, he was paralleling that to people who either never suffer or pretend to never suffer. And I think actually, let's move on to the next quote, because it details it out a little bit more. It says, those who fully experience depression, doubt, confusion, and despair may be infinitely more healthy than those who are generally certain, complacent, and self-satisfied. Okay? And you know these people. They know everything. They're quite sure. They're very complacent and quite self-satisfied, honey. The self-satisfied part makes me laugh, because one of my cats is the most self-satisfied creature I've ever seen on planet Earth. And it's like, it tickles me when I feel like she's having a particularly self-satisfied day, because she'll just be sitting and sometimes her front paws will be crossed. Yes, crossed. And she might lift one up to delicately clean her face and clean her little mouth and, groom herself a little bit. And then she'll cross her paw right back over the top of the other one. And I said, well, my, you are mighty self-satisfied, aren't you? You are quite pleased with yourself, aren't you? And if she could talk, I feel like she would say, well, yes, I am actually. It's like she's looking over herself going, I am quite lovely. This is a lovely cat. Did I do this? I love it. Anyway, but that's what self-satisfied makes me think of. Just quite pleased with yourself. You know what I mean? But in this case, obviously, there's not a pleasant connotation associated with it. But just people who I call them bumps on a log. You're a bump on a log. Just satisfied, complacent, and happy. You just know everything. No new knowledge in, no new knowledge out. Just a bump on a log. You're going to be a terrible leader. You've never gone through anything before. But people who've gone through depression, doubt, confusion, despair, all of those things may be more healthy than those who either haven't or pretend to not have gone through them. This is why I think positive thinking, quote unquote, positive thinking is so dangerous, y'all. I really do. Now, hear me well. I believe in positive thinking in terms of you have to come to terms with reality first, right? So, in other words, positive thinking is not lying to yourself. Positive thinking to me is first coming to terms with reality, then taking a positive approach from there, right? So let's see if I can get a good example. We'll do a flat tire, right? Let's say you get a flat tire on the way home. That really sucks. That's actually a really crappy situation. Positive thinking as it stands today would be like, no flat tire is going to hold me down. I think positively, this flat tire is going to reinflate. Yep, it's going to reinflate. I'm just going to pull over and I am going to think positive, and this tire is just going to decide that it wants to be a tire again. Yep. And I think that this is positive, this situation, and I'm just going to wait. And I think it'll just reset itself and I will get home because no tire is going to hold me down. Versus Oh, flat tire. God. Okay, pull over. Okay, put your hazard lights on. Okay, go check it out. Dang, it's completely flat. I'm gonna need to get my spare on. Okay, I don't know how to do that. So, what do I have? Oh, I have roadside assistance. Awesome. I'll call them. You see what I mean? So my actions, so I also know that I'm going to get home, which is positive thinking. Versus, let me give you the contrast. Fatalistic or negative thinking would be, oh my God, I have a flat tire. I'm gonna die. I'm never gonna get home. That's fatalistic negative thinking. True positive thinking is, oh, I got a flat tire, man. Dang. Well, I know I'm going to get home. It just might take longer than I originally planned, but I know I'm going to get home. Let me take the following steps to ensure that that happens. Versus the girl or guy living in La La Land who thinks the tire will magically reinflate if they don't do anything about it. Does that make sense? Anyway, let's move on. The evil deny the suffering of their guilt, the painful awareness of their sin, inadequacy, and imperfection by casting their pain onto others through projection and scapegoating. In other words, I absolutely refuse to feel this feeling of guilt or shame or awareness. I refuse to feel it. So as a result, I'm going to actually push it on you. I'm going to pass this off to you. I'm feeling guilty, so I'm going to pass this off to you. A viewer and I were having a good time on either the comment thread or a comment. Yeah, it's the comment section of a recent video. And they said, we were talking about Kanye and how he was saying when he doesn't know what he's doing, he gets arrogant. And the viewer said, PTE, next time you need to do a playback, don't do the playback, just get arrogant. And I was like, I think that's a great idea. I said, I think I'm just going to start blaming you guys. Anytime I have a technical error or my internet has a technical error or my computer has a technical error or I make a typo, I'm going to try to find a way to blame my audience for that. I'm going to try to find a way to push it off on you guys. I am. Just for fun. And when you think about it, the reason it's making me laugh is because it's so ridiculous. Like, how are you going to blame your technical errors on them? But that's what narcs do, though. Do you see what I mean? Narcs blame their technical errors on you. You see? So, and they'll find a way to do it too. Like, there are some YouTubers like that. Like, they are mean to their audiences, like just mean. But people go back. They love it. They come back for more. I'm starting to learn people really actually like being mistreated. It seems like they do. Because the way some of these people speak to their audiences, I'm like, I feel like I'd have nobody left if I talked to my audience that way. But they do. And the people come back for more. They love it. They like to be led by cruel leaders. They love it. They love cruel leadership. And we were just talking about that, I feel like, somewhere. I don't know where. Oh, this was so huge. I could make a standalone video on this. The evil create for those under their dominion a miniature sick society. And I just get this vision of this bump on a log narcissist sitting atop this tiny little rundown society. And it can be small too. It can be a society of 3 or 300, but they sit atop it. And the society itself actually sucks. But you could never tell the narc that, because all they're going to tell you is that it's better than somebody else's. And just like that viewer left the comment in the live chat a few shows ago, yeah, D- is also better than F, but they're both unacceptable. But a narc will sit up on a high horse. As long as theirs is better than someone else's, they feel like they're doing great. But this also makes me think of family settings. The evil create for those under their dominion a miniature sick society. So it's kind of like it all happened in your house, didn't it? It happened on your watch. I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's go. It may be that the parents described were not themselves suffering, but their families were. Uh-oh, I made a typo. I'm going to blame you guys for this in a second. Hold on. And the symptoms of family disorder, depression, taking yourself out, failing grades, and theft were attributable to their leadership. All right, let me see how I'm going to blame this typo on you guys. Oh, here we go. I'm going to blame this typo on y'all for all the pressure you put on me to produce the show. There you go. You put a lot of pressure on me. And as a result, I felt under the gun and I clearly wasn't paying attention because I was so threatened by my audience that I made a typo. So it's your fault that there's a typo on the screen. Y'all pressured me. And in all that pressure, I couldn't focus. So I made a mistake. So, yeah. So there you go. Your fault. It may be that the parents described were not themselves suffering, but their families were. And the symptoms of family disorder, depression, taking yourself away, failing grades, and theft were attributable to their leadership. So in other words, it happened in your house. It happened on your watch. You see? So, and I do want to say this, which is kind of a mild disclaimer. I recognize that some things are biological. Okay. So some people are suffering from truly organic and biological issues. So I don't want anyone who might be a parent listening who had trouble with their kids to think I'm saying that because you had trouble with your kids, you're evil and wicked and a narcissist. That's 100% not what I'm saying. It's not. I recognize that sometimes things are just out of your control. They're out of your hands. Sometimes there's outside influences that you're not even aware of. So I don't want anyone to walk away thinking that this is what I'm saying, because it's not. Okay. But do keep in mind, this is in the book. So I'm just kind of transmitting what the book said. And also keep in mind, we're talking about evil people. Okay. So in other words, the symptoms are telling the story. The effects, the outcomes, the byproducts are telling the story of what was going on in the house. You see, they almost always do. Almost always, not always, but almost always. So it's like the parents sit atop and think they're so perfect, but your family is in shambles. So sometimes when I hear adults criticize either the millennials or Gen Z, and, you might go to a Facebook page or Instagram page and just check everything out or whatever. And it's like, well, you're sitting pretty like two little figurines on top of a cake, but your family is a mess. But that happened on your watch, though. So how did you end up so pretty and perfect, but your kids are in shambles? How did that happen? You see? Let's move on. It says, this is on page 124. This is the $1 million question. Are we to consider individuals healthy simply because they are not in pain, no matter how much havoc and harm they bring to their fellow human beings? And this is the question I essentially ask you guys all the time. Should these people be free? Are they healthy enough to be free is basically what I'm asking you. Should we consider them healthy simply because they're not in any pain? They're not displaying any outward symptoms of pain, but they bring pain to others. You see? Like, do you think a sting, what are they called? Jellyfish. I don't think a jellyfish is in pain, but they bring pain to others. The jellyfish is just chilling, just minding its little business. I don't think it's sitting there like in pain 24 hours a day. That would really suck. But it can certainly bring you some pain. And I think some of those jellyfish can kill you, can't they? Can't the Portuguese man of war kill you? If it's one of the big ones and you really get caught up in there. I know they can kill fish, but can they kill people? Well, that's my point, though. Do you think a Portuguese man of war is in pain? No. But if you stumble across it, it could potentially kill you. So is it a safe object to have around you necessarily? Like, should we bring Portuguese man of war ashore? Should you have one in your fish tank at home? Probably not. Because even though they're not a danger, well, they are a danger. Well, dang, my analogy fell apart. I was going to say, even though they're not a danger to themselves, they're a danger to you. But I don't think a jellyfish is dangerous to themselves. My analogy fell apart. But when it comes to narcs, it stays intact, even though they're not. No, it doesn't, because they are dangerous to themselves. Let's move on. Page 124. They must appear to themselves. Oh, everything's fine. They must appear to themselves to be continually in command. Their narcissism demands it. Yet we know they are not truly on top of things because their life shows that. It shows. It shows they're not truly on top of things. Okay? Like, I think some of you would be horrified by your favorite, like, either beauty or makeup or just general life influencers' real lives. You would be absolutely horrified. And I'm not saying these people are narcissists. What I'm saying is the image of perfection often is just that, an image. Their real lives are typically in shambles because they focus all their energy into the illusion. So when you spend all your time building up the illusion, you never spend any time building up your real life, the laundry, cooking, cleaning, running errands. You know what I mean? Now, in fairness, a lot of them can afford to have other people do that for them. And great, hey, let's maximize efficiency. Let's employ people. Awesome. But if it suddenly came to where you couldn't employ those people anymore, do you have the instinct and the initiation to do it yourself? Do you even know how? Do you even know why you would want to? Like, it took me a long time to develop my laundry philosophy, guys. And I'm still working on it a little bit. But like, I tried all kinds of different methods. Like, I tried just doing it once a week. Then I tried doing it like every day. Then like, I'm still trying to kind of tweak it because I realized that you wear clothes every day. So what that means is that laundry is generally generated every day. It's a daily management task. So how am I going to do this in the most efficient way possible? And I give that example to say that I have a motivation behind the madness, if that makes sense. I don't think they have those motivations. And that's why their lives are in shambles generally. Like, I'll put it to you like this. They can't even really hire people for the job because they don't know what they want them to do. Because they don't know what they would do if they had the extra help. Do you see what I mean? Like, if I could afford it, oh my God, the extra help I would have? Are you kidding me? I know exactly what I need everyone to do. They don't. Because all of their efforts and energies have gone into the illusion, the image, the mask, the persona. And it's the same with the narcissist in your life. All of their energy goes into that fake persona. Their real life is in shambles. This is on page 124. Their appearance of competence was just that, an appearance, a pretense. Rather than being in command of themselves, it was their narcissism that was in command, always demanding, whipping them into maintaining their pretense of health and wholeness. Excuse me. So narcissism is a terrible taskmaster. Terrible. It's relentless. It's like, you need to appear perfect, be perfect. You are in command. You're in control. Don't ever appear like you're out of control. This is why when you start hitting them with open-ended questions and things that they don't expect, they spiral out, like we were just talking about on the last live stream. They have a system malfunction and they get very, very angry because when you start presenting them with information they don't know or questions they can't answer, they recognize that they are losing the appearance of control. And they also recognize that you see through their appearance of control. Because if you didn't see through it, you wouldn't have so many questions. If you believed their mask or if you believed their pretense, you would not have so many questions. And they know that. So the fact that you're even asking the questions tells them that you don't buy it. Think about it. People who are totally bought in, do they ever really ask that many questions? No. But when you're not totally bought in, you ask questions because you're trying to get bought in. And that infuriates the narc because it tells them, dang, it's not working, man. It is not working. All right, let's go. This is on page 125. It says, I believe illness and disease should be defined as any defect in the structure of our bodies or our personalities that prevents us from fulfilling our potential as human beings. So the way I kind of interpret this a little bit, he's talking about defects in the structure of our bodies and personalities. And I kind of look at this from the perspective of like basic needs. So anything that interferes with the functioning of our most basic needs could be considered an illness, right? Because it's like our bodies are meant to perform optimally. We were not really designed to not perform optimally. We were designed, our bodies, that is, were designed to perform at 100% at all times. And it even has like redundancies built in, backup measures. Like if you get a cut on your skin, it immediately goes to work trying to repair that cut. It doesn't wait like 3 days, like, all right, I think we'll go repair that cut now. No, instant, because your body was meant to perform optimally at all times. So anything that interferes with that optimum performance could be considered an illness. Okay. And with the knowledge of that, any human that interferes with your optimum performance is probably one you want to remove from your life sooner than later, because ultimately, I think it could ultimately lead to your own illness, your own deterioration, your own sickness, because you're dealing with someone who's interfering with your optimum performance. This is on page 26 or 126. Evil is always a choice one has made, always. This is something that I think we have to remember, because like he was discussing earlier in the chapter or early in the segment, we often tend to think these people have fallen victim to evil. But you must remember, in the world, there are always two people who have gone through the same thing, be it in their childhood, after their childhood. There's two people at minimum who've gone through the same thing, and one chose the pathway of evil and the other chose the pathway of good. And trauma and bad things that have happened to you should make you less likely to do them to others, not more. Like, that's why there's kind of a cycle with parenthood. So the way the cycle goes is like this. You get a set of horrible parents. They were bad, they were awful, they were terrible to their kids. Their kids internalize that, remember it. And then when we're assuming these are good kids and good people. They internalize that, remember it. And then when they have children, they vow to never repeat any of the behaviors that were demonstrated toward them as children. So they become the complete opposite of their parents, which sometimes has the effect of making the kids really terrible, because then it's almost like the parents have the potential to become pushovers because they're overcorrecting. And in overcorrecting, they become pushovers, the 180-degree opposite. And then the kids become narcissistic nightmares. Then those kids grow up, they become narcissistic terrors to their children. Their children see that, internalize it, say, I vow to never repeat it, and up and down and up and down and up and down we go. If you want to break family and generational curses, you learn how not to go to the 180-degree opposite. Obviously, you don't want to repeat evil, wicked, and illegal acts towards your children. You don't want to save some, like, well, PTE said don't go all the way, so I'm just going to keep a few of these in my back pocket. No. What we're saying is you don't want to overcorrect to the point where your kids become narcissistic nightmares because you were afraid to discipline. You were afraid to establish boundaries because you never wanted to be that bad parent. You never wanted to be that nasty, mean, evil, wicked parent. So you were nothing but nice. Now the kids are narcs. Let's move on. Page 127. I told you guys this. This is in one of the first couple of videos I ever made. It says, it is true that we do not currently possess any generally feasible or effective form of treatment to heal the thoroughly evil of their hatred and destructiveness. And that was back in 83. He said there wasn't a treatment, and I don't think there's a treatment now. Because the first step in that treatment is getting them to acknowledge what's wrong in the first place. I did a video a couple months ago, said, what do I look for in a man? Viewer request. And I don't know if I mentioned in that video or not, but the college ex that I brought up in that video, as we were moving toward the end of our relationship, I said to him, I said, I think the only way we'd ever be able to get past everything is if you could actually articulate to me why I'm mad. And then with his spectacular consistency, he would say, oh, you're a woman. Women are always mad. Okay. So, these letters I've written, these emails I've sent, did we have text? Text wasn't what it is today. In other words, I had articulated myself very clearly. I'm not a rambler. I don't rant and rave. I know actually how to use my words, and I would use them with him. And after he would either read it or hear it or whatever, he would just go, oh, women. And I just was not going to spend my life with that. I wasn't going to spend my life with someone who just takes all of my words, thoughts, concerns, and emotions, balls them into one little ball in his hand, and just tosses it in the trash can and just goes, women. Yep, women. Now you're without this woman. Moving on. Let's see here. This is on page 127. And he's been texting me lately, y'all. It's so annoying. It's like, would you please, go on up the street. Go away. Why y'all never go away? If evil is an illness, it should then become an object for research like any other mental illness. We can and should move from our present state of ignorance and helplessness toward a true psychology of evil. So what he's basically saying here is that we do need to start to become more mature and start to consider this as something that we need to take seriously from a scientific perspective. Separate from the other cluster B disorders, even though to me, in my personal opinion, they're all fueled by evil. Evil is the gas. They're just different cars. Oh, I like that. That was kind of good. Evil is the gas that fuels them all. They're all just different vehicles. But at any rate, we need to acknowledge that, because what happens when science has reached its limit and says, guys, we don't know what this is. We don't know. And then the religious or spiritual side says, guys, this is evil as described everywhere in history, in the Bible, in other religious texts. And they're like, oh, we don't believe in all that make-believe stuff. That's fantasy. That's not scientific. We can't prove that. And it's like, well, you don't have the answer. You ran your scientific method. You did all your little studies, and you don't have the answer. So why don't we consider the potential that maybe there's another answer or another layer? Maybe there's another layer to explore. Okay. So he's a very strong advocate for this. This is all on page 127. All roads lead to narcissism. It says it's not only a disease, it is the ultimate disease. And I could not agree with you more, Dr. Peck. I do think it's the pinnacle. It's the peak. So if you were looking at a mountain, if you want to call it evil, fine. I call it narcissism, would sit at the peak of that mountain. And then all the other illnesses and mental disorders and cluster Bs fall out from that. Okay. Maybe for the sake of argument, we could sit evil at the top and then put narcissists underneath evil, because evil is the fuel that drives the car after a while, or after all. But it is the ultimate. So when I hear people, let me start over. When I'm listening to videos on YouTube and I'm listening to different controversial subjects, and they're exploring the different reasons and motivations and behaviors, I feel bad for them a lot of times because they always, turn up no dice. They can't figure it out. They can't put their finger on what's wrong. And all I want to say in the chat or wherever is, you guys are dealing with narcissists. Pure, raw, uncut narcissism is what you're dealing with. All roads trace back to it, or evil, whatever you want to call it. It all traces back. And the beautiful thing, if there is any beauty in any of this, is that it's very characteristic. They actually have extremely characteristic traits. And we are going to look at a few of those. He gave us a fantastic list that we are going to look at in a second. So it's not like we're just tossing the word evil out with no checklist to go with it. We have a checklist. Oh, we have a checklist. This is on page 128. It says, it would be quite appropriate to classify evil people as constituting a specific variant of the narcissistic personality disorder. So he actually, it looks like I was right the first time. He actually classifies evil underneath narcissism. He says it's a specific variant. So it's like an arm of the disorder. So I think that's kind of interesting. So it looks like I was right. Narcissistic personality disorder sits at the top of all of them. It's the peak. It's the peak. Okay, let's move on. Let's talk about the schizophrenic thread. Y'all, I'm telling y'all, I feel like we're on the verge of a major breakthrough. I do. The more we talk about this, the more we start to nail down the details and really get a strong grip on narcissism and evil and all of this. I'm telling you, we're getting ready to figure something out, I feel like, if we haven't figured it out already. This is on page 128. It says, it will be recalled that when I confronted Sarah with her responsibility for the nature of her marriage, she went off into left field. In her diatribe about apples and oranges and pseudoscience persecutors, she not only lost her composure, she seemed to lose the thread of her thoughts as well. Her logic disintegrated. Such disorganization in thinking is far more characteristic of schizophrenia than it is of a personality disorder. I'm telling y'all, all this stuff is connected. I mean, I know they know it's connected already, like all the cluster B stuff and everything. Actually, schizophrenia is not in cluster B, is it? Would somebody mind fact checking that for me really quick? Schizophrenia doesn't fall under cluster B, I don't think. It's totally separate. But look what he's basically saying, though. This evil person who he met, Sarah, went schizophrenic on him when he started to confront her with responsibility. Why would that be? You see? So the questions that it leads me to ask is, why do all of their minds behave in such a similar way? Why? Why do they break down in the same way? Why do they start to exhibit the exact same behaviors, like provable and verifiable across experiences, cultures, ages, races, genders? It is consistent, y'all. It's the same. I don't get it. They all do this. When you confront them with responsibility, if they don't walk out, they go Fruit Loops on you. And please, no offense to people who are suffering from actual schizophrenia. I'm not trying to offend you. I'm not calling you a narcissist. I have to be very clear, okay? What I'm saying is, why is it when narcissists start to melt down, their mind starts to display schizophrenic traits? Why? Why is that? Why do some people have schizophrenia but no narcissism? What's going on here? Are all of our minds connected somehow? Are all of our minds like built off the same building blocks? And then we just become who we are based on our exposure to our environment? Why is that? Why is it when you confront someone who's not suffering from narcissism, well, suffering in quotes, from narcissism or evil, they don't go off into left field. They don't melt down. They don't disintegrate. They don't lose their thoughts. I know some people, when they get angry, their thoughts become more clear. They become lyricists when they get angry. Lyricists, some of their best work is when they were furious. So why is that? Like, these are the questions. I feel like even if they don't want to acknowledge the quote unquote evil, we need to know why. Like, why do their minds deteriorate in the same way? So here's the question behind the question. If I'm standing at the top of a tall building and I have a bowling ball and no one's down there, guys, it's a clear street, it's empty, okay? And I drop the bowling ball, and each time I drop it, it lands in a different place. Well, that kind of makes sense to me. I may not have been holding it the same. Maybe the wind blew, maybe I threw it a little bit and didn't realize it. It would make sense for me for the bowling ball to kind of land a little bit differently each time. What I'm asking you is, why is it when we drop the bowling ball off the building of narcissists, the ball lands in the same place every time? Why is that? Why does the bowling ball literally hit the same place so many times it cracks the concrete and starts to carve itself out a little like concave bowl-shaped structure from where it keeps hitting the concrete in the same place? Why is that? I have to know that. What I would expect is for someone who's not well mentally, for all their breakdowns to look different. Like, this one broke down that way, that one broke down that way, that one broke down that way. That makes sense to me. What doesn't make sense to me is why they all break down in the same fashion. That I find incredibly strange and worthy of further study. So here is the list that I just mentioned a few slides ago. Okay. So, I haven't displayed it yet. Sorry. Y'all are like, PTE, there's no list there. So these are going to be the traits of evil defined. So again, we're not just tossing the word out, just calling people evil just because we don't like them or because we don't like, sometimes it is the things you say. Basically, we're not just calling people evil because we don't like them. There are reasons, and here they go. Consistent, destructive, scapegoating behavior, which may often be quite subtle. Excessive, albeit usually covert, intolerance to criticism and other forms of narcissistic injury. Pronounced concern with a public image and self-image of respectability, contributing to a stability of lifestyle, but also to pretentiousness and denial of hateful feelings or vengeful motives. Intellectual deviousness with an increased likelihood of a mild schizophrenic disturbance of thinking in times of stress. Okay? I would like for you guys to remind me in the after show that I want to talk about this slide. This is slide number 150. I want to talk about this slide as it relates to our free speech conversation. Okay, so slide 150 as it relates to free speech, because basically what I'm going to talk about in the after show is how I think we could actually use a criteria to determine whether or not a video is harmful. And I believe these could be the criteria. And we came up with a solution earlier today, and we're going to talk about that a little later, okay? But we'll talk about that in the after show. Let's wrap. We only have a few slides left. We'll take a commercial break. We're going to go in the after show, and we'll chit chat. And I had something else to talk about with y'all in the after show, and I already forgot. I got to do better with that. I have to find a way to remember things. This is on page 130. It is doubtful that some can be wholly healed of their scars from having had to live in close quarters with evil without correctly naming the source of their problems. And when I hear this, it actually makes me kind of sad for some reason. I don't know. I'm like, it's so sad, like a child or a person going through this with evil people, be that their parents or their siblings or whomever, but they don't know what to call it though. So they just struggle and like they wrestle and kind of suffer in silence a little bit because it's like, well, I know something is wrong, but all I can do is describe what they've done or what they did. Someone left a comment on the video the other day and they said that I'll just say parent, to try to kind of protect their anonymity, even though the odds of you guys finding it is like super slim. I just like to protect y'all. But this person said their parents said to them, "Oh, those new friends of yours, they only like you because they don't know you." Like, wow, how hurtful. You know what I mean? So I give that example to say that a child or a teen or whoever who would have that said to them, that's evil. Like, that's flat out wicked to say that to your child. Oh, your new friends only like you because they don't know you. So that child would only have that example to give. They'd say, well, why do you have this issue with your parent? Say, I don't know. He or she is just mean. They're like, well, what do you mean? And like, well, they told me that my new friends only like me because they don't know me. So they don't know to say, oh, that bitch is evil. Some kids do. Some kids know evil very young. Like some kids, I'll be like, why don't you like Mrs. Smith? And say, she's evil. They say, or they used to say, that woman evil. So some kids do actually know what to call it, but a lot of kids don't. And especially if you grow up in an environment that is relatively sterile. And what I mean by sterile is there's not really anything going on. Not really. Like, there's no abuse. There's no like yelling, and the TV's not really on. There's no music playing or anything. And I mean, we get up and we go to church on Sunday, then we go eat dinner down at the Cracker Barrel, and then we come home. I mean, yeah, life is fine. That's what I mean by sterile. Like nothing really going on. So there's nothing really to like compare to. It's so hard for me to explain what I'm trying to tell y'all. For example, me growing up as a child and coming into preteen and teenager, I feel like I had to deal with a lot of things. Meaning like I remember like my grandmother having to go to the hospital and like have a surgery and come out and recover, or my mother having to go into the hospital and come out and recover. Like I remember, I don't want to use just medical examples. I'm trying to think. I guess what I'm trying to say is like, there's been a lot of activity. Like there was a lot of stuff going on. Oh, why can't I think? Why can't I put it together? In other words, childhood wasn't a straight shot for me. I wasn't born and then every day was like the last. And then I just went to elementary, then middle, and then high school. And, one foot in front of the other. Like, I feel like I had to deal with some really real world stuff before I became an adult. And as a result, it kind of developed in me a certain understanding. But a lot of kids don't have that, is what I'm trying to tell you. Some kids either have the opposite, or some kids either have like extremely bad homes, but we forget about the kids who have homes where nothing is really going on, y'all. And that concept is something I'm going to have to work on explaining better. Because I think it's important. It's almost like there's no stimulation. I'm confusing myself at this point. Let's move on. This is our last slide. Then we are going to go ahead and go into our after show after our commercial break. It says the reality of the matter is that the naming of evil is still in a primitive stage. And I couldn't agree more. I think we still have a lot of work to do. I think we're getting warmer. I do think we're getting closer, but I do feel that we have so much more work to do in this area because this area is so easily written off. You see my disclaimer at the beginning. I give that disclaimer because there are so many people who is upon finding out the series even touches on religion a little bit will be like, oh, nope, not interested. And it's like, well, maybe you should be though, because maybe you might come up with the name. Maybe you might help us add more to the lexicon to contribute to the understanding, you see? So it's very easily dismissed and written off because it's magical and fairy tales and, mythological. How can it be mythological when we're experiencing the effects of it every day? It's quite real to me. Is it real to you guys? So with that, you guys, that concludes episode 7 of People of the Lie, What's in a Name. Naming is quite important. Don't let people, when you're trying to nail down something or you're trying to describe something, don't let narcs just be like, oh, you're so wordy. Oh, you're such a nerd. Oh, you always trying to use big words. Like, no, we're trying to get down to the description, the actual accurate description. Words matter. Semantics matter. Connotation matters. It all matters, right? But wouldn't this also go towards the overall idea that because words don't work, they work hard to not give things their proper name? Maybe it is an active resistance to properly naming things because, for those who are on the spiritual side of things, there's a lot of power in what you call something, a lot of power in what you call something. And you can bring about various manifestations based on what you call something, especially yourself. So if you have a bad habit of talking down to yourself and calling yourself horrible names, daily you're contributing to a worse condition for yourself. So get into the habit. Don't ignore reality. I'm not saying lie to yourself, but try to find something good to say about yourself that is also true. Don't lie to yourself. But if it's only one thing, you focus on that one good thing and you say it every day until you have two good things, because words are powerful. Words matter. Names matter. I will give you this quick story and then we're going to break. When I was a teacher, I had a student whose middle name was Killa, Killa. I still remember all three of his names, first, middle, and last, but I'll just give you the middle, Killa. And guess where he is today? In jail. And with that, we are going to go ahead, and go into our, system failure. Oh, hey, there it is. All right. Here we go. Let's back you up. Perfect. All right, guys, we're going to take our commercial break really quickly. Thank you all so much for being here. Then I'm going to go into after show mode and read through your comments, talk about that slide and that other thing I was trying to remember, and then we'll get out of here, okay? All right. I will be right back. right, everybody, I am back. I'm turning the system volume down. So let me know if you can still hear me. They shouldn't affect each other, I don't think. I don't think they're married like that. But in the event, 1 second. Okay. All right, guys, welcome to the after show. Thanks for hanging out with me. I really appreciate it. I'm going to go through the comments I can, meaning all the comments since the show started do not display. Something has gotten in my throat. All the comments since the show started do not display. So I'm only able to see a few. So I just highlight a few, then we get out of here, okay? All right. Before we do that, I do want to speak on this slide as it relates to free speech. Man, my throat is not cooperating. Hold on. I think it's going to try to give me difficulties this evening, but we're going to push through. So this slide as it relates to free speech, right? This was in response to my PTE news break on Friday. We were talking about the Google suit that a couple of conservative channels are bringing against YouTube. And a viewer and I were kind of discussing under one of the comments, what is kind of the resolution to all of this? And I was saying that I think the resolution is to kind of you have to have an independent review body that's non-political somehow to assess a video's content based on the things that we were talking about the other day. So I was saying that I wanted to respond to videos to analyze them for fallacies, falsehoods, broken logic, things of that nature, right? Essentially, this review body would be doing the same thing. And the viewer came up with the idea of kind of like a disclaimer on videos. So instead of deplatforming people, why don't we put disclaimers on them? So essentially, it would be something like, the following video contains information that has not been verified by science or observation. For more information on this particular topic, please visit blah, 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 blah. Then the video plays. Or it could say something like, the following video has been identified as having misogynistic themes. For more information on women and women's advocacy or whatever. So in other words, they don't take the video down. They identify exactly what's wrong with it and why it's a problem. You tell the viewer that on the front end so they can at least know there's some content in this video that may not actually be true. So they don't just click on it and just consume it wholeheartedly without knowing, hey, what this guy or this girl is saying is actually not true. If you would like access to more true information or just flat out true information, go to this resource. So then you still have the freedom of speech intact, but we're also being responsible with the information that's being put out. I think that's such a happy medium. So when I saw this list, I thought this would be a great start to the criteria of how we would evaluate a video and what disclaimer ultimately would end up at the bottom of it. Okay. So essentially, let's go through it real quick and why I think this would be great. Consistent destructive scapegoating behavior, which may often be quite subtle. So that disclaimer will be something like, the following video contains scapegoating and blame shifting. For information on responsibility, follow this resource, right? Then you have excessive, albeit usually covert, intolerance to criticism and other forms of narcissistic injury. I wouldn't put a label on that one. I mean, if they want to get narcissistically injured in a video, I mean, so what? I wouldn't disclaim that one. Pronounced concern with a public image and self-image of respectability, contributing to a stability of lifestyle, but also to pretentiousness and denial of hateful or vengeful motives. So that disclaimer might look something like, the following video has been identified as having themes dealing with hatred toward a specific group. For more information on that group, click here. For information on anger management, click here. Okay? Intellectual deviousness with an increased likelihood of a mild schizophrenic disturbance of thinking in times of stress. The following information has been identified as potentially schizophrenic. If you yourself are suffering from a schizophrenic episode, please follow the following link. For more information on schizophrenia, please click here. And then the video plays. Now, I know that would send a lot of creators into a tailspin. I recognize that. Now, if you get all 4 of these on a video, that disclaimer would say something like, the following video has been identified as potentially harmful to the mental health of the viewer. If you are in need of mental health resources, please follow the following link. So forth and so on. So I feel like this is how we protect free speech, let psychopaths on the platform, but you have people who are not schizophrenic, not narcissistic, not paid off, who simply evaluate a video and say, wow, that guy just made a massive logical fallacy. The following video contains a logical fallacy. For more information, do you see what I'm saying? So you still get the freedom of speech, but it's safer and it's more responsible. Because what's happening right now is we are allowing content with all 4 of these check marks to just roll out onto the people, and you see what has happened. Mass brainwashing, mass cult formation, deep, deep unwellness, induced schizophrenia, all that as a result of some of these videos that are constantly put out on the platform. So I think it's a start. I think it's better than what we have now. And I think if we keep thinking along these lines, we might get somewhere to where we're able to make adult decisions about the content we watch, and we're also able to make adult decisions about the content we put out. So it's just something to think about, guys. But I just thought that was an interesting conversation that I had with that viewer. And I felt that like that list went right in line. Okay. All right. So let me go through your comments and then we will get out of here. Okay. Welcome to everyone in the chat. Thank you all so much for tuning into the series. I appreciate it. All right, let's see here. So this is in response to why does their brain fail in the same way? It says, yeah, why do they all seem like clones? I don't know. We've been trying to figure that out for the longest on this channel. Does anyone remember what else I was going to mention to y'all at the start of the show? God, I forgot. I swear there was something else. But yeah, I don't know. And to me, that's one of the most fascinating elements. The fact that they do all behave like clones. They break down in the same way. They operate in the same way. It's like they're all the same person, just with different names and different bodies. It's super weird. It says, so I was asking, why do narcissists seem to go into some sort of schizoid meltdown when challenged? I think this is the answer to that question. It says, because schizophrenia is a more intense form of paranoid personality disorder, which all narcissists also have. So it makes me wonder if narcissism is the parent to everything, to all these disorders. It says, because you expose the false self, they disintegrate. Exactly. Which is really so very sad. And he actually says this in the book. It's a very exhausting way to live your life. Trying to keep up this image and this act all the time is incredibly exhausting. And to me, they always look tired too. They look like they're tired of carrying something. Okay. It says thoughts become more clear when angry. Yep. Some of us don't melt down. Some of us get sharper. And one day in the future, who knows when, I will do a PTE uncut channel. It may not be able to live on YouTube, because the whole point of it being uncut is that I would actually finally just speak like I speak in normal life. I still speak this way. It's just littered with curse words. And I know some of my viewers don't like that, and I know some of y'all really would probably be kind of turned off, like, oh no, PTE, don't use all those curse words. You have an extensive vocabulary. You don't have to curse. But what you all who kind of don't like it don't get is that when I am able to incorporate them into what I'm saying, literally, oh my God, it's like I enter into flow. Welcome. You are now entering flow. And it just, I am so much better able to express myself when I'm allowed to weave them in there, or when I just do it, in my everyday life. So yeah, I mean, just because I curse doesn't mean I don't know vocabulary words. Also, I think it's a pretty good sign that you can swap them out. You don't have, like, some people have to curse all the time. They don't know how to take them out. Oh, I can cuss you out without saying a single curse word. I'll hurt your feelings without using not one curse word. I've done it before. I've done it on accident. I've hurt people's feelings by mistake just by speaking clearly. Let's see here. Just going through your comments. I hope one day YouTube allows us to see them all. I'll never fully understand why they cut them in half. Interesting. It says the schizophrenic is a victim of narcissistic people. I believe that. This goes right along with my theory on induced schizophrenia. Like, when you're not allowed to think complete thoughts, when you're not allowed to fully express, this is a different type. This is not the type brought about by YouTube channels and the internet. This is the type that's brought about in interactions with the people in your life, especially narcissists. You can't finish a thought. You can't complete your sentences. You can barely get a word out. They're trying to think for you, think over you. All of that contributes ultimately to a person who thinks in fragments. Because some people have such an effect on your life that you could be arguing with them, they're not even in the room. Now, I've gotten rid of all the people in my life that used to have me like that, so angry all the time that they didn't even have to be there, and I'd be having just a full argument with them. I think I agree with you. I think this is where it comes from. Like, the mind is a very important territory, and you cannot play with it. You can't play with people's minds. And part of playing with people's minds is playing with their ability to communicate, express themselves, basically. It says, one time my ex got so angry, I felt like I literally saw a mask fall off and the person underneath was unrecognizable. That was scarier than when he was physically violent. I don't know if this is from that comment that we broke down last stream or if this was somewhere else, but someone said, like, they actually kind of see them temporarily, like, it's very quick. It's like a glitch. It's like they shake their head and like a glitch, and like, it's almost like if they were speaking, they'd be going, no, 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 no. It's weird, yo. It's like, whew, these people are creepy, man. Like, they're creepy people. Halloween is a perfect day to do this stream. These people are creepy. Let's see. It says, we are witnessing it. So we must tell our stories in order to help others that believe they are truly going crazy to know that they must get away from that narc. You got to get away if you can. I throw that in there because I know it's not easy and some of you are deeply entangled. But if you are in a situation to prevent that deep entanglement and you can get out, you might want to, because it doesn't get better. It doesn't improve over time, unfortunately, because there's no cure yet. Because the start of that cure would be convincing them that something's even wrong. And we already know that they don't think anything is wrong. All right, let's see here. Interesting. You think there's one? You think we have a mind that we all share? I think it's possible. I think there's a lot we don't know yet about how connected we really are to each other. Like, are we all connected kind of like by human Wi-Fi in a way? Or, now this is drifting to a deeper PTE, are we connected by human Wi-Fi, but then we got in trouble and got our Wi-Fi turned off because we didn't know how to handle it? Something to think about. It says, this is true. The first step to understanding is having the vocabulary for it. Absolutely. And as much trash as I talk about the current state of the internet and whatever, I also believe there is a flip side to the coin. And that flip side is that we've helped educate each other. We've shared our stories. We built our vocabularies around different topics and issues. Like, there's lots of different things that I wasn't educated about before, but as a result of listening to different YouTubers, I now have knowledge on that subject, you know? And so I think for everything the internet is in terms of the destructive nature of it, it also is incredibly powerful and useful, which is one of the reasons I think they're going to take it away from us. It's like they're getting way too educated. The internet is like the Tower of Babel. It's like, if we keep letting them teach each other everything they know, eventually they'll know more than us. So how can we prevent that from happening? How can we scramble the languages theoretically to stop them from all this education? Let's see. Well, according to the law, the question is negligence a form of evil? According to the law, criminal negligence is, well, they don't call it evil, obviously, but the way it's described, they're basically saying you're either evil or you're really dumb for whatever it is that you did to earn a criminal negligence charge. Like, you're either so absent-minded that it could almost qualify as evil, or intentional, which is evil. Evil and intention go hand in hand. Or you're so limited that it might be evil. It might be a crime to be that dumb. I don't know. But I think that's a very good question. Is negligence a form of evil? I think so. Just like taking the law conversation out of it, you know, like people who don't take care of their pets or don't take care of their kids. Like, I think that's evil to some degree. You got to be evil to not feel a natural sense of protection and love and wanting to give them everything you can give. Not to the extent that you're taking advantage of, meaning you try to give them the best that you can. The cleanest water, the best food. You try to make their living environment nice. You know what I mean? Like, anyway. Interesting. It says there may be one computer network tracking and manipulating minds with Neuralink. Interesting. Yeah, that Neuralink is something else, isn't it? For those who don't know what that is, that's Elon Musk's, right? It's like a brain implant. Now, currently they're marketing it for people who have suffered injuries like paralysis and things of that nature to restore motion in parts that aren't connected anymore. Excuse me. So I think that's a great use, but we all know that things often start one way and end up another. It won't be long before you're scrolling through the internet just with your eyeballs, like bloop, 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 bloop. Open, close. Don't take it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Remember, computers are really dumb. Let's see here. Let's see. Oh, it says, after what I learned about narcissism, I became very entranced by the show Dexter. There is a spectrum. Dexter is one of my favorite shows, you guys. And did y'all hear? I think it's coming back, if I'm not mistaken. I think they're going to do 6 shows, if that's what I read correctly. So I'm excited about that because it really sparks a strong debate because Dexter only took out wicked people. People who really, really, really had it coming. I don't think he ever took out someone, just an innocent. I don't think he ever took out an innocent. So the debate becomes, is Dexter evil for what he did? Or is Dexter good for, taking out the trash. Let's see here. Or are all people entitled to fair trial? Let's see here. Scrolling through. Right. It says, yes, your innocence has not been compromised when you have a wholesome environment coming up. Exactly. Exactly. And so then in many ways, you're also not aware of the evils that are around you at all. So at that first experience, you're just like, what is this? This isn't natural. I don't know what this is. What do I call this behavior? Yep, your innocence has not been compromised when you have a wholesome environment growing up. Exactly. Let's see. Oh, interesting. It says, sorry, it took me a while. It's called partial psychosis in narcissism when there's a breakdown. Interesting. So to me, if the mind can so easily slip into partial psychosis, it was never really a stable mind to begin with. Excuse me. Ooh, ouch. It says narcissists aren't interested in weak people. So if you fall prey, that is something to think about. Yikes. Ouch. Ouch. I told you my theory, though, regarding me, is I come across as a sweet little kitty cat. One that looks like it wants to be picked up and tucked under your arm. And when you attempt that, you get clawed. And you're like, oh my God, she still has her claws. All 4 sets. Yep. And they're super sharp. So it's kind of like, you know, I think some of us unfortunately project weakness, even though we're not really. And that's why a lot of them end up sniffing around trying to tuck you under their arm. So make sure you don't declaw yourself and don't get declawed either. Ooh, that would be a good book. Good little ebook. Don't get declawed. How to maintain strength and personal boundaries in the face of extreme evil. I like that. All right, let's keep going. We are going to wrap up here shortly because we are creeping up on 2 hours. So I see Sam Backman came up in the chat. The thing about Sam that concerns me deeply is Sam hates women. He hates women. He said he has a disdain for women. He said it like those words. Like when he said it, I was like, wait, what? Wait, did I click on the right video? He hates women. He has a passionate hatred for women. So I have a tough time. I know he's a self-proclaimed narc, which great, shout out to your awareness, but I have a tough time. And like, even his energy is too creepy, man. His energy is super dark. So it's not that he's not giving valuable information, but like when I get through watching one of his videos, I feel uncomfortable on the inside. Like I just internalized something I wasn't supposed to. But he hates women, and that's why I can't really take him seriously. Even though I know he's a narc, and that makes perfect sense because a lot of male narcs hate women too. So that makes sense, but the fact that he's comfortable saying it, it makes me uncomfortable. Like I feel like Sam would body you and bury you in the backyard. Let's see here. All right. It looks like I am disturbing is the word. Yep. Very disturbing. Like it's something. I have a video saved of his actually that I was going to do a debunk on. Because the main reason I want to do these debunk videos is I want to show you guys how a lot of people who like to mislead other people start off with like some truth, they start off telling the truth. And so they loop you in with the truth. And then once they've got your attention, they start literally just completely just chopping logic in half. Logic gets broken. The upper layers never get explored. Gross assumptions, exaggerations, and generalizations are made. Opinions are stated as facts. Actual facts are distorted, misinterpreted, and presented to give you a different conclusion. Oh, there's so much going on. So I have one of his videos like that. And I think it is the video where he was just flat out talking about how much he hates women. And I'm like, wow, so all women, huh? Like, so you don't even have the ability to say, I hate that certain type of woman who behaves in that certain type of way. Nope, you just group us all up, scoop us all up in the net, dump us all in the same bucket. So for you to hate me and you don't know me, you never met me, you never had an opportunity to analyze me, but I know that you hate me just because I'm a woman. Well, I don't trust you either, friend. Or as we say in the South, I don't trust you either, folk. So you stay over there and I'm going to stay over here because I will take you out first. I will win. Okay. When it comes to these narcs, these threatening, oh, I hate you and I hate women and all this, boy, I will take you out if you ever came up in my face like that, ever. And every woman needs to adopt that attitude. Boy, I will take you out of here. You need to adopt that attitude to keep yourself safe. You got people telling you that they hate you because of your gender. You better find a way to protect yourself. So with that, guys, it looks like I've actually reached the end of my chat thread. I appreciate you all so much for stopping by. I can't wait to hear the playback. One of my favorite things to do. I don't know when the next episode of this will be. I don't think I'm going to do the voodoo dream. So the voodoo dream is next. I don't think there was anything in particular in that chat. It's like he tells 3 stories coming up. Let me just look. Yeah. He starts talking about, hold on. Here we go. Searching. Okay. Yeah, the case of the voodoo dream. I don't think we're going to do the case of the voodoo dream. We might skip that one. Uh-oh, I see highlighting. Maybe not. I don't think we're going to do the case of the spider phobia. We're not going to do that. I see highlighting. I mean, I might do touch and goes. I just want to get out of chapter 3. We are still in chapter 3. So I might do touch and goes on those and then finally move on to chapter 4. But we're making progress, y'all. It looks like we're a little more than halfway through the book. So it's been fun. I'm glad you guys like it and I'm glad you enjoy the series. There is a playlist for those who may want to see the series starting from the very beginning. You can check out that playlist. But other than that, you guys, I hope you have a great weekend. Enjoy this big, bright, full moon. And we will speak again later and very soon, okay? Bye.